Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be a quick one. It's just going to be going over the differences between null and undefined and which one you should probably be using the most. So stick around. Alright, so I initialized an empty TypeScript project over here to get started with this. I can let you know what to write down if you do yarn init-y and yarn add ts node. What else? TypeScript. And finally, if you do a yarn tsc-init. This should get you set up with where I am right now in terms of setting up this project over here. And then finally, all I did was inside this package.json, I have a script over here that says, hey, ts node run index .ts. And that's really all you need for this setup. So let's go over a few differences and what really are we talking about, right? So I'm talking about null and undefined. So over here I have two variables. One is a null variable and one is an undefined variable. And let's first find out what their types are. So if I run this, so if I do yarn start, and then it runs this and it says that the first one is an object and that is null, and the second one is undefined, is just of type undefined. So null is actually of a type object. There's arguments out there on Stack Overflow and other places where there was a proposal to ECMAScript to change null to be its own type, like null is of type null, but they didn't end up going with it and got rejected. Some people are saying it's a bug, but just something to look out for if you're using typeoffs in your project. So now let's move on to what they are in terms of truthy and falsy values. So they're both falsy values. So if I run this again, yarn start with this, we will see that they are both false, and they are both false, but if you strict equality check them, they're obviously not equal. If you just do a non-strict equality check, you should get true over here because they're both falsy values. So that's just something to look out for. They're both falsy. They're not strictly equal to each other, but they aren't strictly equal to each other, but they are loosely equal to each other. All right, so now let's get into the meat of it. So let me undo this. Actually comment this out. Okay, so now we have a two objects over here. So it's a name object which has first, middle, and last. And we have this object here that has any, and we're just checking the equality of middle and then object.this. So you see here that object doesn't really have a this property. It's just an empty object, whereas name undefined object does have a middle property, but it is assigned an undefined value. So let me run this, and I think everyone can guess what's going to happen now. We should get true. So because .this still produces an undefined in JavaScript, it is just going to be equal to undefined, and so undefined will just equal to an undefined over here. But if we uncomment this out, obviously, if we do this, where we do console log, let me just copy this down over here, and instead of name undefined, we do name null object, and we run that, and we'll still see the first one is true, but the second one is going to be false, obviously. So now let's get to why I really like undefined. So I really like destructuring, and sometimes when you know that a property, if it is of a null or if it's of a value which you consider just a value which you consider where it doesn't exist, you actually want to put in a default. So let's see over here. I'm going to be working off our two objects, right? Our name undefined object and our name null object. So over here in our name undefined object, I'm destructuring first, I'm destructuring middle, and I'm saying, hey, middle will have a default value of NA, and then I'm destructuring last. And I'm doing the same thing for null over here. So I'm destructuring first, middle, and last, and console logging them. So let's run this and see what we get. Unfortunately, null doesn't come with the benefits of having a default value. So in this case, the first one, which is undefined, is actually going to give us the default value, but this isn't going to give us the default value. That's something to look out for. I really do use defaults quite a bit in my projects. I find that it's really useful from time to time, so that's why I lean towards undefined quite a bit. So let's comment this out and comment this code out. I don't think I need it anymore. And now let's get into functions, right? So let's get into functions over here. So I'm using TypeScript. Also, I heavily promote TypeScript. So over here we have our null params, our first and our last, and the last one is either string or a null, whereas the second one is an undefined param function, and it takes in a first and a last. And you notice the last here has a question mark in the beginning. This essentially means that it is optional. And the thing with optional is it's almost like our object over here. We were doing object.this, and the this property in this case is sort of optional. So you can think about that in the same way. So what we have over here is, if you notice, it's erroring out over here in the null parameters, because now we have to pass in a null for it to satisfy TypeScript's type checking. But over here, we don't have to, right? If you only want to pass in the first parameter, you totally can. So let's do this. Let's console log this and console log this, right? So let's see what they both say. So let's yarn start this, and we should get t.null and t.undefined. So you know how I said that I really like default values? So you can totally do that over here. You can say that this is equal to code, and then let's see what's happening here. Parameter, have question mark, and an initializer. Let's see, if I do that, then that still makes it undefined. So if I do that now, I should get our t.null, which is coming from the first one, and our t.code, which is coming from the second one. So now if we do undefined over here, we still don't get any TypeScript errors over here. So if we run this again, we should get that this is t.null. T.null and t.undefined. So if it's optional over here, it seems like you can't really have, if it's optional and it's equal to null, if it's optional and it has a default value, it doesn't really like that syntax. Let's try to run this and see what TypeScript gives us. Parameter cannot have a question mark and an initializer. So you can only have one of these, right? So if you have an initializer, that means it is optional by default. So they just don't want you to they just don't want you to sort of be redundant with it, I guess. Because if you hover over this right now, you see that IntelliSense is telling us that last is technically optional. So it's kind of strange how they don't allow this, even though like it would IntelliSense the same thing. But yeah, I guess that's just the way it is. Okay, and last but not least to why I really enjoy this is that it just makes for better type definitions. So over here, imagine if you had a bunch of properties that were undefined. You can just say, hey, it is optional instead. So you can say undefined middle name is optional, but if you chose null as your sort of value to represent nothing, then you would have to write string pipe null, which is sort of painful. And let's see how we initialize variables like this as well. So let's say this object is of type undefined name. So I say my first name is t dot, my last name is code, and hover over this. Oh, okay, gotta comment this out. And if we see over here, it doesn't really complain if you don't mention a middle name, especially if it's optional or undefined. You could, if you wanted to, do middle and say undefined, and it still wouldn't complain. But just now, this is much more neater. Whereas compared if you have another object and now you're using null to represent sort of your empty state, let's see what happens now. So let me comment this out, paste this over here, comment this out. So now over here, if we hover over this, it says that middle is missing in type of this. So now we have to add a middle and say it is null if it doesn't exist in our case. So it just depends how you are going about with your application. If you truly need null in your application, like you truly have a use case, then go for it. But by all means, undefined has never done me wrong. It still has the benefits of being a falsy value. You get the benefits of checking if the type of is undefined. Like if something really does not exist, you can check the type of undefined. Whereas if you use null, then it is technically a type of object, which will throw you off because arrays are also type of objects, and obviously objects are of type of objects. Maps are also type of objects, so it could throw you off in that way. But yeah, that is my little short video, but it's 11 minutes, short video of why I think undefined is better than null. Drop it down in the comments what you think is better. Did your opinion change after watching this video? Do you still prefer null? Again, it comes down to personal preference. You can totally build your application however you want to, and it still do the same thing as long as you code the correct way. But in any case, show some comments, show some love and support in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.